In this video, we're going to focus on how to summarize data. So we're going to go ahead and kind of jump right into our data unit and focusing on mean, median, mode, and range to start with. So these are different statistics that we use when we're working with data, and data is just a fancy word for numbers. So if we go ahead and take a look at our example that we have on the screen, you're going to see that we have a set of numbers up here. The first step whenever you are working with a set of numbers is to list in order from smallest to largest. So what we want to do again is we want to list our numbers in order from smallest to largest. So we want to go ahead and look at our list of numbers, and we want to start with our smallest number, which is 4, and then we're going to cross it off as we go. So then we're going to put a 6, cross that off, put another 6 because there's 2 6s that show up. Then we're going to put a 7, and it looks like we have another 7. And then I went ahead and finished my list. So 4, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the first piece that we're going to take a look at is our mean or our average. And this is the sum of the numbers divided by the amount of numbers. So what that means is we want to take all of our numbers and we want to add them up. So we want to take 4 plus 6 plus 6 plus 7 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 11 plus 12, and we want to get a sum. So we're going to go ahead and do that on our calculator, and we should get a sum of 80. So remember, sum means that we are adding our numbers together, and then we are dividing by the amount of numbers we have in our list. So if we count up our numbers, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 total numbers. So we're going to divide 80 by 10, and that will get us an answer of 8. So in our example, our mean or our average is going to be 8. The next part is the median. So when we're finding the median, we are looking for the middle number. So normally what I try and do is I think of mid, so median, middle, median, middle. So again, we're going to take a look at our list of numbers that are in order from least to greatest, and we're going to cross off from end to end until we get to the middle. I see that I have 2 numbers in the middle, so I have a 7 and an 8. In order to figure out what the median actually is, I need to take 7 plus 8, which equals 15, and then divide that by 2 to figure out what number comes directly in the middle of 7 and 8, and my answer would be 7.5. So my median of my data would be 7.5. My mode is the number that appears the most. So again, mode, most, mode, most. So I look at that MO, MO, and I try and correlate or put that little phrase together of mode, most. So again, I'm going to look up at my list of numbers, and I'm going to look for the numbers that occur the most. So I see I have 2 6s, but I also have 2 7s. Since I have 2 6s and 2 7s, my mode is actually going to be 6 and 7. The mode is the only statistic that can have more than one answer. And then finally, the range. The range is the difference, so that's subtraction, between the greatest and least number. So our greatest number is 12, and our least number is 4. So we're going to do 12 minus 4, or we can think, how far would it take me to go from 4 to 12 on the number line? That's going to be our range. So I'm going to do 12 minus 4, I get 8. So the range of my data is 8. So to go from 4 to 12, I'd have to move 8 steps on the number line. So let's take a look at our second example. So again, this doesn't have all of our vocabulary, but you do have the vocabulary to refer back to so you can properly practice finding these different statistics. So the first thing we want to go ahead and do is put our numbers in order from least to greatest. So go ahead and do that in the space on your paper. So here's your list of numbers. So again, we're going to go ahead and find the mean, median, mode, and range. So let's take a look at the mode first. So go ahead and figure out what the mode would be. In this case, your mode would still be two numbers, so it's going to be 7 and 9 because they both show up 2 times. Then we're going to go ahead and let's find the range next. So to find the range, remember we find the highest number and we subtract the lowest number from that. So our range would be 12. To find the median, we look for the middle number. So we're going to go ahead and cross our numbers off. Smallest to largest, I get 2 numbers in the middle. So remember, I need to find the number that falls directly in between 9 and 10. I'm going to add 9 plus 10 together and get 19. And then I'm going to divide by 2. So my answer, or my median, should be 9.5. And then finally, the last part, I always save the mean for last because it is mean and it takes the longest. So we're going to take all of our numbers and we're going to add them together to get a sum. And then we're going to divide that by how many numbers we have, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that would get us our final mean. So when we add all these numbers up, we get a total of 88. When we divide 88 by 8, we get a mean of 11. So here would be our statistics for this set of data. Our mean would be 11, our median would be 9.5, our mode would be 7 and 9, and our range would be 12. So taking a look at the next page in your packet, you're going to take a look at numbers 1 and 2. So right now you can just see number 1 on my screen, so you're going to go ahead and find the mean, median, mode, and range for number 1, and then check your answers with mine, and check your work with mine as well. So I listed my numbers in order from least to greatest. I'm going to go ahead and find my range. 19 minus 6 would get me an answer of 13. So my range would be 13. My mode, which is the number that appears the most, it looks like it's 18 because that appears 2 times. To find my median, I'm going to cross off my numbers. And I have a 14 and a 16 in the middle. So I'm going to add 14 plus 16 together and then divide by 2. So I get 30 divided by 2, which would be 15. So my median is going to be 15. And then finally my mean, I'm going to take all of my numbers, add them together, and get a sum. The sum that I get is 112. And then I'm going to do 112 divided by 8. And my final answer for my mean is going to be 14. So here are the statistics for example 1 on the second page. Taking a look at example 2, so again, we want to go ahead and complete this example and then check our answers with mine. Here are your answers for example 2. The mean is 13, the median is 14, the mode is 14, and the range is 11. In example 3, we're going to start looking at line plots. So this says, Lacey surveyed the students in her class. She asked them the following question: how many days do you exercise per week? Lucy wants to make a frequency table and a line plot using the data she collected. Then she wants to find the mean, median, mode, and range of her data. So to make a frequency table, we have to take the numbers that they give us and we have to tally or put tallies in the column where the number fits. So for example, our first number is 7. So I'm going to put a tally in the 7 column, and then I'm going to cross it off so I know that I've already done 7. Now I'm going to look at 5. So I'm going to cross off 5 and put a tally in 5. Cross off 4, put a tally in 4. Cross off 3, put a tally in 3, and so on. So go ahead and finish filling out the frequency table and then check yours with mine. So if you take a look at my frequency table, you'll see that I have my tally column filled in, and in every number, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, all of those numbers have tallies, but 6 does not. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at my total column, and that total column is just how many total tallies are there. So for the number of days 0, there's 1 tally. For the number of days 1, there's 3, 2, there's 5, and so on. So 3, there's 4, 4, there's 4, 5, there's 3, 6 has 0, and 7 has 1. So now we can take this information and we can put it on our line plot. So hopefully from elementary school you remember a little bit about a line plot. So we're making a line plot, and when we make a line plot we are using X's as our marks. Those X's represent the number of students. Okay? So if I put an X there, that means that 1 student, 2 students, etc. have exercised that many days. So for example, if I put an X above 0, that tells me that 1 student exercises 0 days during the week. For the 1, I'm going to put 3 X's, and I want to try and keep them the same so that it looks about equal. It's a little hard on here. For 2, I'm going to put 5 X's. For 3, I'm going to put 4 X's. And then go ahead and finish putting your X's on your line plot. So if you take a look at the line plot, I finished putting X's on them. So now what I can do is I can kind of see what's going on my line plot. I can see that 1 student exercises 0 days, 3 students exercise 1 day, 5 students exercise 2 days, and so on. So now what I need to do is I need to figure out my mean, median, mode, and range. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out or list out the numbers in order from least to greatest, looking at the amount of X's that are above each number. So if I look at 0, there's 1 X, so I'm going to put 1 0. If I look at 1, there's 3 X's, so I'm going to put 3 1s. If I look at 2, there's 5, so I'm going to put 5 2s. And then I'm going to keep listing my numbers. So go ahead and do the same thing on your paper. So I have all my numbers in order from least to greatest. So if I count the numbers at the top, I should get 21 numbers. So I'm going to count the numbers at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Good. So I have all my numbers there. So now I can go through and I can find my mean, median, mode, and range. So you get a little bit more practice with mean, median, mode, and range. Go ahead and do that on your own and then check your answers. So if you go ahead and check your answers, you can see that our mean is 3, our median is 3, our mode is 2, and our range is 7. Alright, so here's example 3. So again, we are looking at Kim. She asked her classmates, how many siblings do you have? She collected the following data listed below. Make a frequency table and a line plot or dot plot to represent the data. So go ahead right now and take a look at the frequency table and fill in the numbers from the list. So I'll start you off by putting a tally in our 0 column and then crossing that off, a tally in our 1 column, crossing that off, tally in our 2 column, and crossing that off, and so on. So go ahead and check your frequency table with mine. So you should see that for your number of siblings 0, there are 5 students. Number of siblings that have 1 sibling would be 6. There are 3 students with 2 siblings, 3 students with 3 siblings, 1 student with 4 siblings, and 2 students with 5 siblings. So just to kind of hit on these vocab words up here, a line plot and a dot plot are the same thing. A line plot you use X's, a dot plot you use a dot. Okay, so you can choose either or, whichever one you want to use. I'm going to go ahead and practice making a dot plot just so I'm getting practice with both, but your X's and your dots would be the same amount for both numbers. So again, let's have you practice making either a line plot or a dot plot. So to start off, if I look at my zeros, I would put 5 dots above my 0 because there are 5 students that have 0 siblings. And also I'm going to put a label underneath my number line and I'm going to name that number of siblings so that I know kind of what my numbers represent. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish making our line plot or dot plot and then check our answers. So go ahead and check your answers with mine. So again, you'll see that I have 5 dots in my 0, 6 dots above my 1, 3 dots above my 2, 3 dots above my 3, 1 dot above my 4, and 2 dots above my 5. All right, example 4, before you start doing some practice on your own, is looking at interpreting line plots. So the first question says how many students were surveyed. So again, if we're looking here, this is either a line plot or a dot plot. If we take a look, the dots represent the number of students, okay? So to find the total students that were surveyed, or how many students were surveyed, we're going to count up the dots. So go ahead and count up the dots and see how many students there were. So when I counted, I got 20. So we want to make sure we put a label there, and our answer would be 20 students. Next, number 2, it says what amount of time did most of the students spend doing homework? If I see that word most, I want to look for the mode. So the mode of this data, which number has the most dots, would be our 30 minutes. So most students did 30 minutes of homework. Next question says, how many students spent at least 40 minutes on homework? So that means they could have spent 40 minutes or more. So notice how I'm reinterpreting kind of what the question's asking. So 40 minutes or more. So now I'm going to look and see my 40 minutes or more, and I'm going to count those dots. So go ahead and count those dots and see how many students you get. And if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I get 9 students. Finally, the last question says, did the typical student spend more or less than 20 minutes on homework each night? So really I'm looking at where does the majority, or where do most of my dots fall? And I'm seeing, do they fall 20 minutes or less? Right? They had to do less than 20 minutes of homework. So really that doesn't even include my 20. That includes my 0 to 10. Or did they spend more than 20 minutes? Well, if I look at the boxes that I just made, where do the majority of my dots fall? Where do most of my dots fall? They fall in this 40 to 6 or 30 to 60 minute range. So more students, the typical student spent more than 20 minutes on homework. Because again, that's where all or the majority, most of my dots fall in this 30 to 60 minute range. All right, so on this page, you are going to practice on your own. So the first thing you're going to do, it says Ms. Williams asked each student in her class the following question: in a typical week, on how many days do you spend some time watching television? The results of her question are shown below. Make a frequency table and a line plot to display the data. So notice the frequency table is somewhat filled in for you, and then you're given a set of numbers and you're given a number line. So you just need to add or put the numbers on the number line. And then for number 2, you are going to use the data to answer the questions below. So you're using the states traveled to or lived in. And then for number 3, it says Larry recorded the low temperatures for the week. Find the mean, median, mode, and range. So once you finish that, you can check your answers and fix any mistakes that you may have made in your work, and then you're going to move on. So go ahead and check your answers for numbers 1, 2, and 3 on the practice page. And hopefully this video helped you understand better how to make a frequency table, a line plot or dot plot, and find the mean, median, mode, and range of a set of data.